All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. We got something exciting today, I hope. I'm not going to review these guys because both of these figures have been out for a minute now. The Mezco one, more so. That being said, I want to take a look at both of them. I love the Flash. I'm a classic comics Flash guy. I feel like there's a lot of good runs. So, obviously, I'm okay with having more than one Flash figure in my collection, and there are some characters that I don't feel that way about. So I'm not going to compare, contrast, and get rid of either of these figures. I'm definitely keeping both, but we got two very different figures here. Now, if you don't know what Mezco Toys is, I'll put up their website. They create 6-inch action figures and other products, but I mainly collect their 1/12 line. And they are movie, comic book, their own Mezco style figures, and they just have a certain flair. They kind of gain popularity by having soft goods be the main driver for the gimmick of why you'd want to buy them. I think they photograph really well because of that. There's just a lot you could do with lighting and stuff like that to make it more natural. On the other side of that, and I would say the complete opposite spectrum, honestly, is Amazing Yamaguchi, or Revoltech seems to be the word they're trying to promote more now. And Revoltech, or Amazing Yamaguchi, really is about posability and dynamic action. So, unlike Mezco, we got a lot of joint cuts, a lot of articulation. So this is going to be kind of an interesting video, I hope. So let's just get into it. First things first, we're going to start with the packaging, and yeah, Mezco takes the cake on this one. Hate to say it. Amazing Yamaguchi used to have really cool packaging, and then they've defaulted to this really basic design. Now, here's what I'm imagining what happened. I don't know for certain. There's probably research I could do, but I'm not going to. I think the packaging that they used to have took a lot of time. And now they're pumping out more figures than ever, so they needed to go to some template. And just from a graphic design standpoint, this is fine. It's got the figure, it's got the title. But just look at the difference. If I'm in a comic book shop or a toy shop or whatever, I'm going to be drawn to this. This is Flash. This is like what I see as Flash. And it's proud. It's proud Flash. It's proud DC. But look how small these little... you can barely see it on the screen. So, something to think about. Alright, now moving to the back of the box, and yeah, different flavors. Amazing Yamaguchi is definitely more organized, a bit cleaner. The photography is more focused on the figure. But over here, it looks like you got like a comic book panel packaging. Now, I did get this at a comic book shop many years ago for 20% off of the original MSRP of $80. If you know Mezco 1/12, that is a steal for what this figure cost at that time, and now even more so. So, that being said, packaging wise, honestly, still more drawn to this one. That's a personal opinion. There's no objective answer to any of this, but I don't know, the goofy Photoshop up here and the sort of cool like effect down there just gets my excitement going. Now, this looks cool, don't get me wrong, but I'm a fan of that one. So let's get the figures out of the box and then just take a quick look at comparing them right next to each other. One last thing I want to note is Mezco used to have these types of boxes. They don't anymore, I think for cost reasons, but used to be able to open up the flap and see the figure in there and have some sort of art over here, and there were like magnets in this little panel right here. So miss that. I kind of miss that little treatment to it, but it is what it is. Here we have the two figures standing right next to each other, and as you can tell, very different flavors when it comes to presentation. On one hand, we got this really hyper muscular, hyper articulated, dynamic, anime-esque looking Flash figure. We got sort of a satin red paint with metallic gold all over the body. Looks pretty cool. Looks very sleek. Then, of course, over here we got the comic book version with bright yellow boots and simplified design, and, well, as you can see, the cloth the cloth exterior. And genuinely and honestly, I like both for different reasons. Like, it's tough. Now, if I had to choose one, it really is up to personal preference. Please let me know in the comments below which one you think looks a little bit better. Also, sorry if you can hear me scratching my arm. I got hella bug bites yesterday, and that shit sucks. All right, let's turn these figures. Let's get a little silhouette action. Now, what I will say is the sculpt for this was like designed for the Flash only. I don't know why he's tilting a little. He's tilting a little backwards. There we go. So designed for the Flash only. So he does have the advantage of, I guess, just being the Flash figure all the time, whereas Mezco 112 uses a articulated body underneath this, and they reuse that for molds here and there. Now, with that being said, I do think that, you know, one Flash figure, let's do this. I do think that one Flash figure looks more realistic than the other. Some people's complaints may be that Mezco's Flash looks like a guy wearing a costume or pajamas, and truth be told, that's kind of what comic book characters used to look like. So, you know, I respect that critique. I definitely see it, but it doesn't bother me. Now over here, you know, the sculpt on the amazing Yamaguchi Flash figure is really, really cool. I find the proportions on the amazing Yamaguchi to be a bit more exciting to look at, a bit sharper. Definitely looks more video game-y, if that makes sense. So that's why I said it's going to be kind of hard to like really talk about these guys, because they're both so different. Now, what I will say that I do prefer over the Mezco 112 is that you can't see the joints. So from far away, it, yes, might look like a doll to some, but to me, it just looks like a cool representation of the Flash, a very comic book accurate one. Now, I'm not going to go over the full articulation here. That would take too long, but I can show you like a running pose for each. Oh, and the leg popped off, although it looks like it's kind of supposed to, for, you know, don't want to break it, so if you over push it, it's not going to snap. I can show you a running pose for each, and we can see just like the difference there, and then we'll go over accessories, and then we'll get into a, you know, a final pose and some final thoughts. All right, so let's start with the amazing Yamaguchi figure. I haven't used any other accessories than what's provided in you know, the figure when it comes out of the package. So I don't have hands, don't have electricity, just the articulation itself. And as you can see, really articulate. That's where amazing Yamaguchi really shines. I would say that standing upright looks a little awkward because it's just begging to be in a cool pose. So with that in mind, like all this little detail of the body and just, you know, how slim and thin the Flash is with musculature everywhere, this looks great. Didn't take very long to get this into a cool pose. The bend in the body looks supernatural. The silhouette is really nice. So yeah, I would have to say that amazing Yamaguchi excels in this. All right, and this isn't to say that the Mezco 112 can't get into a dynamic pose, although yeah, it doesn't look as natural. There's some awkward, you know, bending of the cloth. That being said, I do think that it looks good. Very comic booky. So, you know, no figures are a slump when it comes to playability, and that's the great thing about it. But two different poses, two very different figures. Which one do you like more? It's really up to personal preference. Right now in the camera, I have to say I prefer the Mezco. There's something about the simple design that makes the silhouette a little bit better. Now, from the side angle, this looks a little awkward, but from like this angle, I don't know. Let me bring this one closer. Maybe I'm just biased. No, I still like the Mezco just a little bit more. Now, obviously, I'm biased. I have attachment to this figure. I've had it for so long, but I don't know. Just in the camera, the cool, like, satiny reflective cloth they use to cover the joints looks great. Don't get me wrong, amazing Yamaguchi is great, but right now, articulation aside, because this one obviously wins, but just the general, like, the feel, the vibes, the aura, Mezco. So let's get into accessories. Alright, so let's talk about accessories. Amazing Yamaguchi Flash comes out. Amazing Yamaguchi Flash comes with more. Flat out. There's no conversation about that. He comes with 4 different faceplate expressions to put under that cowl. 14, I believe, Speed Force, electric parts that attach to various ports on his body. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can really, even in a standing pose like I did here, add a lot of drama and dynamic action. I'm a big fan of how big some of those electricity parts are, like almost as tall as the figure himself, really adding a lot of energy to this figure. Again, very anime, but to each their own. So yeah, it took me not too long to get all these pieces on him. Pretty user-friendly, I would say, not having looked at the instructions or anything. So I'll get these guys in a final pose at the end of this, but just to talk about Amazing Yamaguchi accessories, really only Speed Force parts, but it's the Flash. Like, of course, I'm going to want a lot of different variety with that. With that being said, they are all pieces that attach to his body. You could use them on other figures as well if you had like a sticky tack material and you wanted to get a cool photography setup, a cool like photo op setup, and have them like punch a figure and there's, you know, electricity bouncing off of their body. But as it stands now, pretty damn cool. Pretty pleased with this. So let's move on to the Mezco. And so here we have Mezco 1/12, the Flash, you know, in a cool sort of standing-ish pose similar to the Amazing Yamaguchi. Definitely has vibes, definitely still looks good, in my opinion. I think that I would say that, well, I forgot to mention how many pairs of hands the Amazing Yamaguchi comes with, but he does come with 4 pairs of hands, whereas the Mezco 1/12 figure comes with 3. The Mezco 1/12 figure doesn't have 4 faceplates, although he does have a totally different head sculpt, as you can see here, that makes him the Wally West version of the Flash, which is cool. It's also, you know, a more animated style with the white eyes versus the human eyes that you saw earlier. He comes with only 4 pieces of like Speed Force effect parts, but he does come with a punching effect piece, which you'll see at the end here, that the Amazing Yamaguchi didn't. So at the time, for what the figures basically retailed for, yeah, I would say that, again, it's your personal preference, which I know is a cop-out, so I'll give my opinion. I think that the Mezco 1/12 gives a little bit more variety in terms of how the figure displays. That being said, for a cool, dynamic Flash figure, and the Flash is a character that I think really needs it, you know, requires a little extra care to presentation, and definitely if it's a static figure, you know, and you want it to look like it's moving. Yeah, I think the Amazing Yamaguchi does win in this department. I like how the lighting effects look more. That's just a personal artistic preference. I think the sharp lines and chaotic energy of the effect pieces in the Amazing Yamaguchi just look a little bit stronger than the sort of spaghetti-like, but, you know, still comic booky representation from Mezco 1/12. That being said, in a standing pose, I think the Mezco 1/12 is always going to win. I think this is simple, but it looks clean, it looks good, it looks natural, so tough there. But let's get them into some final poses and then we'll discuss final thoughts. All right, so the recording is officially at an hour now. Just posing these guys is crazy. Well, posing the Amazing Yamaguchi is crazy. Posing the Mezco one was actually all right. The Amazing Yamaguchi Flash figure is a beautiful nightmare. I did not have fun getting all these effect pieces on this figure right here. It was just frustrating, and I get it. You know, you're collecting action figures, you're posing. It's gonna be that way. And I think that's been pretty clear in the Amazing Yamaguchi world for a while now. Their work. You got to put in some work for them to look good. And so I think maybe at this point in time, I'm seeing a pattern with why I collect both of these figures. You have the Amazing Yamaguchi. We'll stick with that for now. That looks fantastic, looked great, but is really time consuming. And after all said and done, it's really up to you whether or not it's worth it. Whereas over here in Mezco 1/12 world, they look great pretty much doing anything, even just standing in a static pose. It's like the comics were brought to life. It's like my childhood TV shows. Justice League animated was brought to life. They're user-friendly. They're created with the user in mind, and you know, it's just very different. I do feel a little bit defeated by the Amazing Yamaguchi right now, and a little bit happier that I still have the Mezco Flash at this moment in time. So if that tells you anything, then there's that. I'm not going to say that the Flash figure is bad. It is fantastic articulation, wonderful accessories. There are no limits when it comes to what you can do. So let's get these on a little stand and talk about them a little more. Let's talk about the Amazing Yamaguchi Flash figure for a second. Like I said before, I think it's amazing. I think that the sculpt is great. The paint apps are clean, crisp, and clear. It can be whatever you want it to be in your collection. If you have a DC Comics collection, fits in perfectly there. If you have a anime figure, anime only collection, it'll fit in there as well. I think the versatility of this figure is what gives it so much power. The effects, what you can and don't necessarily have to put on the figure, make it, again, I don't think it was a waste of money. Now, this figure's pretty expensive. You're paying a pretty penny for a Flash figure, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all whatsoever. If you have like an Injustice, it fits in there as well. There's just a whole bunch that you can do with this. With that being said, I didn't have a lot of fun with this figure. It was frustrating, it was difficult, it wasn't really playing or meshing with me very well at all. And that being said, after all said and done, I can see the work that I did here, and it looks great. And I would be proud to put this on a shelf in a display and for people to ask, damn. Yeah, that's kind of the feeling you get. Great shelf display, but a pain in the ass, a beautiful nightmare. I don't feel bad that I spent money on this. I would put in the work again if it was going to be on a shelf for a while. I think for a video, there's also different circumstances of it just being a little bit more stressful and wanting to get things done in a timely manner, which I definitely did not with this video. I thought this would not take as long as it did. So, in conclusion, I'm happy with this figure. If it's the only Flash figure you could buy right now, or you find it for a little bit cheaper, I would say go for it. I think that it is versatile. With that being said, the Mezco 1/12 Flash figure still reigns supreme in my eyes. I really love this figure. And I guess what's not to love? It is a classic representation of the Flash, both Barry Allen and Wally West. It is charming. It's a guy in spandex, just how I like it. As you know, how I like my Super Sentai stuff as well. So, in that regard, yeah, I'm not going to be pretty mad about this, but I wouldn't pay for it now. The Mezco 1/12 line can get a little exclusive at times, and that is painful for the wallet. It's painful for collectors. I appreciate that they don't do re-releases because that drops the value of something that I've been on board with for a while, but a 2.0 version is well overdue, and I hope they're making it in the coming years. That being said, the classic Mezco 1/12 Flash looks great, and I do appreciate when Mezco uses more simpler designs. And maybe we'll talk about that more on this channel some other day. I had a lot of fun with this figure. I think that it's fun to use. The quality of the buck that's used underneath the cloth is, holds up. And yeah, you gotta worry here and there about pinching the cloth and ruining it, but it's an action figure, like it's gonna be played with. And again, I think it looks fantastic. Like, even after so many years, it still holds up. Sometimes I think even the head sculpt looks a bit better. Again, personal preference, anime versus comic, real life, whatever. I'm still happy to own this Flash figure. I'm never getting rid of it. And I think this video kind of cemented that for me. There was a little part of me that felt, you know, will the Amazing Yamaguchi Flash replace this one? Absolutely not. And listen, I don't even love Mezco, okay? They piss me off sometimes. And so this is coming from a perspective of, yeah, it holds up, it's great, it's quality. I think it's better, definitively, than the Amazing Yamaguchi Flash. So if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.